www.lacountyrentrelief.com. This program is administered by the County of Los Angeles through its Department of Consumer and Business Affairs. Visit www.lacountyrentrelief.com. www.lacountyrentrelief.com.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate meets a scholarly match.
Yeah, Fred from Crenshaw, I'm just wondering, is it enough? I feel like election after election, well, the last two, we've been urged, you've got to vote for Biden, you've got to vote for Hillary, because otherwise we get Trump, right? And it's a good argument. I mean, Trump, he who shall not be named, as I like to call him, used to be bad, and he's gotten worse. I mean, he's told us he'll be a dictator on day one. He's outlined the authoritarian measures he wants to take, including, kind of being the revenge president. But is that enough? I think people are tired of higher prices. I think some of us, especially young people, black people, are disillusioned by the treatment of Haiti, the treatment of the Palestinians. And then on the right, you've got folks mad about the border. How do you, in immigration, is it enough to just say he's not Trump?
Hello?
Yeah, Fred, I was asking you.
Oh, you're there? Oh, okay. I didn't know you had went to commercial. I'm looking both sides. But the thing about it, I didn't like the statement Ricky Haley made. Haley made the other day.
Right.
Yeah, Nick Haley. Okay, so now, more than likely, Trump's gonna be the nominee. Do you got any idea who he's gonna pick for his VP?
I don't. I before I was thinking Tim Scott. I had heard rumors it was going to be Larry Elder. LOL, LOL, LOL. Maybe Nikki Haley. You notice she would not say that she would refuse that job if offered it. So that could definitely be. We'll see. He's certainly got, could be to Satan. I mean, he's got enough runners up. Everybody's auditioning to be second in line, which is why one of the reasons why they won't attack him and they don't want to lose his base. There's a new report out by House Democrats that proves, and they've got the receipts here, that President Trump took in $7.8 million at minimum from foreign governments while he was president. It's exactly the kind of thing that Republicans have been struggling to try to prove Biden did, that he got some money through Hunter. They haven't come up with one scrap of evidence to counteract that. And I think to troll Republicans, the Democrats have released an 156-page report called White House for Sale. They outline the $7.8 million, where it came from. It's not, hard to track. They spent the money at the International Hotel in Washington, D.C., the Trump Hotel in Vegas, Trump Towers in New York, and the Trump World Tower at the UN Plaza in New York. This is pay to play at its finest. The crazy thing, the biggest chunk of this money, $5.5 million, coming from China. I think we should do what Trump likes to do to others, which is give him a nickname, China Don. I think that's good. China Don. We'll call him China Don. You got $5.5 million from the Chinese. The next highest bidder, we'll call them, is the Saudi Arabian government with $615,000 that were paid directly to Trump's business entities while he was in the White House. I'm not quite sure why the emoluments case was dismissed by the courts, because that's exactly the type of activity that it is meant to stop from happening. You're being paid by foreign governments while you are the president making decisions about our interaction with foreign governments. It's not rocket science. We've got another Fred on the line. This one's calling from L.A. Hi, other Fred.
Hello, Dominique. Now, I'm Claudine Gay. This goes back to our conversation that we had about affirmative action. I saw her when she was being grilled by that woman, congressman, I guess it was, a senator.
Yeah, Stefanik.
Gave her a chance to clean it up. And, I think she expressed her thoughts, or she expressed the thoughts to keep her job, and she expressed the thoughts of the university. Now, moving on to her background. Why can't the people, the black people, or probably all people, be the best at their game at that job? They should, if there was a black woman there or black man, why couldn't they have had impeccable credentials?
Well, here's the thing. A couple quick things, and I know we'll probably go back and forth because we love doing that together, don't we, Fred? First,
yeah.
first of all, you don't get to be the president of Harvard without impeccable credentials. She had sloppy scholarship, clearly, on those papers. We're talking about things from the 1990s. There's no way, you don't just, hey, get that black lady. Let's let her be president of Harvard. That's not how it goes. She did have...
Sounds like it.
Well, it does sound like it. And there are people in the press intentionally making it sound like it. Did she make mistakes? Yes. Did she have sloppy scholarship? Yes. A lot of people, and maybe it ventures over to plagiarism, although the scholars she supposedly stole from said it wasn't plagiarism. But many academics have stated, and I believe this to be true, that if you went through everybody's academic papers with a fine-tooth comb, a lot of people would be gone from not just Harvard, but many of our top institutions, number one. Number two, why do we have one standard for, Melania Trump, who steals a whole speech from Michelle Obama and gets to keep being first lady and doesn't get publicly shamed, but Claudine Gay, who does sloppy academics and doesn't cite material that she should have cited or possibly even steal stuff, she has a totally different outcome. I want to say this about the hearing, Fred, because I've worked before as I don't know, community action, but it's kind of like that diversity piece where they bring you in and when you are in a crisis like that, you get briefed by lawyers. This is what you are supposed to say. And what Claudine Gay did, and I do agree with what a guest said on Tavis's show yesterday, she's new in the job. She's going to stick to the script. She's not going to go with her gut. And that was a mistake. I agree. But you put it perfectly. She was saying what the university told her to say because they're trying to protect their free speech, policies or whatever.
Well, I think it's their politics, but that's a different issue.
Whether it's their politics or their policies, it doesn't prove that Claudine Gay is anti-Semitic or that she's not protecting the Jewish students on campus. What it proves is that she stupidly followed the advice of Harvard's lawyers without using common sense.
Okay, I've been listening intently, and you had a young man on, I think it was yesterday, and I think he works with you, and he works hard. You said he works hard.
Miles Lowe, he's here every day. Yeah, he's here on the board right now.
And the subject was the young people of today are lazy. I'm not going to quite totally say that, but there's something I've seen that I've noticed that you guys don't. The younger people, anybody that's born after 1960, in the 60s or later, they don't seem to understand that there's a phrase that I first heard in the 90s. There's a level of acceptance for black people. And you guys don't seem to understand this level of acceptance. And I'll give you one idea back in 1956, something that happened to me. And I'll call you later on to exaggerate. Everybody has to go downtown or to Wilshire Boulevard to see somebody, do business, records, hospital, what. You have to get on the elevator. Well, in 1956, they had I didn't even know where I was. I think I was downtown. My mother I was with my mother, and she had my younger brother, and she had to do some business. So I go to get on the elevator. But back then they had elevator operators. She pointed this stick. It was always a white.
I've seen it in the movies. Yeah.
Yeah. Colored boy, you don't get on that elevator. And I remember my mother dragging me up the stairs to go do her business.
Wow.
And there's a whole lot. So there is a level
That's deep.
Acceptance.
But look, let me just say, you went all the way back to 1960. I mean, we were talking about millennials, so that's a little bit. But I'll say this, Fred. There's lazy people in every generation.
Okay, well,
can we agree on that, Fred? Can we agree on that? There's lazy
most
people.
Definitely.
Okay, all right. We agreed on something, Fred.
Call.
We're doing good today, Fred. All right, I'll talk to you when you call me back to, as you say, exaggerate. I don't know if you meant extrapolate, conversate. Miles, you wanna clap back at all to what Fred said? He went all the way back to 1960.
I'm glad you said what you said. There are lazy people in every generation, and I think we'll leave it right there. We're a product of that.
Leave it right there. And I appreciate you sharing that story about the elevator. Just a reminder of how it hasn't been long since the segregationist policies, but still actually permeate in many places. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Can't sleep with this cold.
Honey.
Honey?
Honey.
you need NyQuil Severe Honey.
NyQuil Severe Honey gives you powerful cold and flu symptom relief with a dreamy honey taste.
Feeling better, honey? Honey? I'll take that as a yes.
Try NyQuil Severe Honey for powerful cold and flu symptom relief. NyQuil Severe with honey flavor. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, fever. Honeylicious, best sleep with a cold. Medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
It's Macy's one-day sale tomorrow with great deals of the day. Like 40 to 60% off handbags, shoes, and accessories to complete any look. 50 to 65% off warm, on-trend coats for her. And 50% off designer bedding from Hotel Collection and more. Plus, get your online order even faster when you pick up in-store or curbside at Macy's. Savings off sale and clearance prices. Exclusions apply.
When you use Bounce dryer sheets and your clothes look amazing, it's the sheet. Less static in your life? Yeah, it's the sheet. Smelling fresher than ever? It's the sheet. Oh, so soft fabric? Ooh la la. It's the sheet. Less wrinkles on your clothes? You know it's the sheet. Bounce dryer sheets. More freshness, more softness. Less static, less wrinkles. It's the sheet.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look. And unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So, let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California, once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at a gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event. Or join a cleanup event near you. Zero litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment through the arts. Tia Chucha Central Cultural is on a mission to transform community in the Northeast San Fernando Valley and beyond through ancestral knowledge, the arts, literacy, and creative engagement. The Northeast San Fernando Valley has a population of about 500,000, the size of the city of Oakland, yet it has no bookstores, art galleries, or full-fledged cultural spaces until Tia Chuchas opened its doors in 2001. Founded by renowned poet and activist Luis Rodriguez, Tia Chucha's Cultural Center provides a year-round free or low-cost arts and literacy bilingual intergenerational programming in mural painting, music, dance, writing, visual arts, healing art sessions, and healing talking circles. Activities also include Mexica, Aztec dance, indigenous cosmology, philosophy, and 2 weekly open mic nights, one in Spanish, the other in English. In addition, they host author readings, film screenings, and art exhibits. To express yourself, heal yourself, attend an event, or volunteer, please visit www.tiachucha.org. That's TIACHUCHA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
Right now. I myself, I agree with a lot of pundits who say that the Biden administration has to do a better job of telling the story of the things that they have done for poor people, for Black people, for Americans in general, to boost the economy. I think there is a story there to tell. I don't know if it's going to be powerful enough. I think it is important. I think they've done the best they can to circumvent the Supreme Court and continue forgiving student loans. That's important. It's something he promised that he's delivered on. I was talking to a young college student the other day who was telling me that Biden has done none of what he promised. Zero, zilch, nada. And that's not true. But if those young voters believe that, that's going to be a serious problem for the Biden administration. And, I think I need to do a better job of telling that story, too, because honestly, I get so frustrated, just like his 17 campaign staffers, with the very old-fashioned, and I'm not even going to say moderate because it feels more conservative, take that our president has on many foreign policy issues that it doesn't make me want to vote for him. Yes, we need to stand with Ukraine. No, we don't need to give them an endless bottomless checkbook. Yes, Israel has a right to defend itself. No, they don't have a right to kill 20,000 civilians seemingly indiscriminately. And they don't have a right to endless funding with no accountability. Yes, we need to protect our borders. No, we don't need to be whipping Haitians with whatever it is, a whip, the reins from a horse, whatever it is. We don't need to be treating black migrants worse than anyone. We don't need to have a racist immigration system. And we do need to look at how we can go beyond, this long-term racism and shadeism and white supremacy within our immigration system. I could go on and on. I mean, don't get me started on Cuba. So I feel like the domestic agenda is important, right? The so-called bipartisan infrastructure project, super important. Jobs coming out of that, the greening of America coming out of that, the fixing of things that are very problematic of our infrastructure, our power grids. Those are the stories the Biden administration needs to tell. It can't just be, I'm not Donald Trump. I do think that the re-election of Trump, or China Dawn, as I named him today, will be disastrous, not just for the United States, but globally. I do believe that. He said he will be a dictator on day one. Do you think he'll back off on being a dictator on day two? He said he will go after his enemies, including those in the press. He has made it very clear that he will take away the power of government agencies that protect the environment, that protect us against assaults by white supremacists. His government will be chock full of those folks. If you think, some folks are mad because the Biden administration named the hate crimes bill, the Asian hate crimes bill, even though it actually protects all people equally. They just named it that. They were trying to show solidarity with Asian people. Apparently that was a mistake because people think black people need our own bill. And actually that's not true. We need more enforcement of the existing bills. We need more funding of the existing bills. But in any case, you imagine the last Trump administration, the Department of Justice Office of Civil Rights was shrunk down to the size of my pinky. You imagine what he's going to do this time? He doesn't have to think about re-election, and he's already told you he's going to be a dictator on day one. It would be a disaster. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is the Biden administration can't just count on, we don't want Trump, and that's our whole thing. Show us the money. Show us where you're making a difference. Show us, and some of the things are obvious, but we quickly forget the Kamala Harris's, the Ketanji Brown Jacksons. Quantify. The Biden administration does have something called the National Law Enforcement Accountability Database. That is a win for progressives. It's a win for black people and BIPOC people who are more likely to be attacked by the police. I'll tell you a bit more on that when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power. We've got a lot to talk about.
Race, culture wars, political turf battles, criminal justice and injustice, the courts. These are the conversations you won't hear elsewhere. My guests are leading journalists, celebrities, and sports figures, elected leaders, and influencers. They aren't afraid to get into it and say the quiet part out loud. With Ariva Martin in real time, your commute just became the most engaging part of your day. Tune in weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. or find us on YouTube. Ariva Martin in real time, when you want it straight, no chaser.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
That was another way. I would smoke once an hour. That didn't work either. All that would happen at some point of the day, I would end up doubling up. Other ways that I tried to quit was I stopped buying cigarettes totally. But if I took 3 puffs off of 15 friends, those didn't count because they weren't my cigarettes and they weren't full cigarettes. I went through a lot.
Every attempt is part of your story to quit for good. Visit Kick It California today at kickitca.org.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
You got a big mouth. Hello, Joe, you're up. Welcome.
We're unapologetically progressive, and we don't black down.
Right. So you remember on the second anniversary of the murder of George Floyd, President Joe Biden signed an executive order around policing. It was meant to be somewhat of a substitute for the George Floyd Justice and Policing Bill, which lawmakers in Congress were not able to pass. Then Congresswoman Karen Bass, working with Republican Tim Scott and others, Cory Booker among them, just could not get Republicans to sign off on anything. One of the sticking points was qualified immunity. So in 2022, Joe Biden signed an executive order. And what it did was it gave money to states to try to strengthen bans on chokeholds and funding initiatives that could help to move the standard of policing closer to what we have in the state of California, where then Assemblywoman Shirley Weber changed the standard of what it would, her legislation changed the standard of when police could use force, making it slightly more stringent. They were not able to do all of the things that would have happened through a bill, but they did allocate another $90 million to the Civil Rights Department of the Department of Justice for body cams, for FBI officials, ATF, and U.S. Marshals. And there's a number of other things that came through that executive order. Now, the problem with an executive order is the next president can just reverse it if they want to. But then when you put funding in place, some things can't be reversed. Once the FBI and the ATF have the body cameras, they have them. I suppose President China Dawn could have an executive order to make the FBI stop wearing body cameras. There's lots of ways they can reverse. That's the problem with an executive order. But some progress has been made by way of that executive order, and it was an attempt by Biden to make good on one of the promises of his campaign. Now they have unveiled a national database for police that commit crimes, police that have dirty records, to be tracked under this national database. It was part of the executive order that was signed in 2022 that has now taken effect as this database has actually been live for some time. And this only includes federal law enforcement officers. That is the problem with it. We need to get one that will also include all of the local agencies, state, county, and city agencies, to prevent those officers from ending up in other departments. That is now a national database, though. And, of course, it would have to be serious misconduct, has to be a federal law enforcement officer. So that would flag that person and make sure not only can they not be hired by another federal law enforcement agency, but would not be hired by any government office. And that is just another step in making good on a promise. I think that's important to track. I do think it's not enough, but it is a step in the right direction. The Department of Justice says it's a priceless tool to help them in their civil rights enforcement quests. And so far, it already holds records from the past 7 years. It is going
KBLA
to be greatly expanded in the days ahead, so that state and federal, state and local law enforcement agencies, they say, will be able to use it as well. Hopefully that expansion will be completed this year. Looking forward to talking with the rock star of holistic health, Queen Afua. That's next on KBLA Talk 1580.
80 Santa Monica.
Thank you for joining us, everyone. I'm Mike Moore. Now here's the latest from the Black Information Network. In Massachusetts,